I don't really have a lot of different feeling about the Arkansas game after watching the film. I think there's different ways to look at progress. Each experience, whether it's a good experience or a bad experience, has a tremendous amount of value. But the value comes in how you attack and overcome the things that you need to improve on and to continue to improve even if you're having success. So having the right energy level moving forward in terms of how we prepare and what we do to, whether it's improve mistakes, continue to try to do things at a high level, even if in some areas we are having success in those areas, I think is, the key to us becoming the kind of team we need to become. Great to see Ross Persbacher named SEC Offensive Lineman of the Week. He's done a really, really good job, not only in terms of doing his job, but helping everybody else in the offensive line do their job better. You have the Players of the Week. Certainly looking forward to getting back home in Bryant-Denny Stadium, this week. It's always great to play at home. I think very important that we have a great week of preparation, this week. I think this is by far the best offensive team that we've played, to this point. And certainly a very good front seven on defense, difficult to run the ball against. It's always a great tradition to be a part of homecoming. I know there's a lot of spirit and a lot of people that, come back and renew a lot of old memories and acquaintances that they've had in their experience at the University of Alabama. We do have some injury updates. Trayvon Diggs broke his foot in the game on Saturday. I did not know about this until yesterday, and they did an MRI. So he's going to be out indefinitely. And Kedrick James has got a high ankle sprain, and he's probably going to be out for a little while as well. Missouri has a really, really good team. I think Barry's done a really good job with this team. Derek Dooley's done a great job with this offense. They were always explosive, but now they have great balance on offense. They're running the ball for over 200 yards a game and one of the leading passing teams in the country. Drew Lock is an outstanding quarterback. We got a couple good runners. Got really explosive receivers and a great tight end. Defensively, as I mentioned before, they're second in the SEC against the run, and they're very physical up front on defense. So they've lost two close games to two really good teams. So this is going to be by far the biggest challenge we've had all season long.
Coach, we'll start over here on the right with Ben.
You guys have only given up 4 sacks so far this season. How big of a factor has that been for the offensive success you've had?
Well, I've talked about sacks before. They're something that you don't like to have any negative plays, whether it's tackle for a loss or sacks on offense. I don't think sacks have a significant are not a significant statistic in terms of winning or losing, but you sure don't like to have negative plays because they put you behind at a down distance. And there are stats on when you do get sacked, how many times do you go down and score in that series, and it's a very, very low percentage because you have to overcome now a long down and distance situation. So I think it's very significant that we've had good protection. The quarterback's getting the ball out of his hand quickly and making fast decisions. And I think if you're going to be a successful passing team, you got to be able to avoid the negative plays.
Go here in the middle with Michael.
We've seen Tua play limited snaps in the second half. How do you make that decision on when's the right time to pull a quarterback in a game?
Sometimes we have a plan for how we want to do it, and sometimes you sort of do it by feel. We have a lot of confidence in both of our quarterbacks, so every time we get an opportunity to play Jalen, we certainly want to do that. And there's not really much more to say about it than that.
Coach in the back with Cecil.
Coach, with Trayvon out, how will the secondary be realigned?
Well, we now have 5 defensive players that are out for the extended period of time that, where starters are in the two deep, and 3 of those guys are defensive backs. So, it's going to be challenging. We're obviously very thin. We need some other guys to step up and develop, and the next guy up's got to take the challenge and play well for us. But Patrick has played, quite a bit at his position, and so we do have 2 guys that have some experience. We just don't have a lot of depth right now, and we're going to have to work to get some other players to develop and be able to play for us.
Coach, come back on the right with Charlie.
Earlier in the year, you said that Herb Smith plays well in all phases. Is that something that you noticed during his recruitment, or is that developed over time over the course of his career?
Well, we knew Irv was a really good athlete when we recruited him, and he was a good blocker in high school, and he was a good receiver. And I think he's gotten better and better and better as he's been here, and obviously been, very productive for us this year. And hopefully we'll be able to continue that through the course of the season.
Coach, front left here with John Zeener.
What's been the keys to this team being able to get off to fast starts so consistently?
Well, I think they've done a good job of executing. We've always had a good plan. I think the coaches have done a really good job of, developing those first plays in a game that you want to run from a script standpoint. That has been able to take advantage of some situations that we see, in the defensive team. And I think the quarterbacks have done a really good job of executing, the reads on a lot of these plays. And it's been a real asset for us to be able to, get off to a good start in games and get a little bit of a lead. But, we're going to play better and better defenses as we go, so that's going to become more challenging.
Coach, up front with Chris Walsh.
When an opposing offense has a tight end who blocks and then kind of just turns around and catches a pass, how tough is that to defend, especially if you haven't really practiced it?
So ask me that again. I'm not following
When an
it.
opposing tight end blocks and then he just kind of lets his guy go and catches a pass.
Well, those were tight end screens, a couple of those plays last week, I think 3 of them, where the guy blocked, and we kind of released him in coverage, whoever had him. Then a lineman gets between you and the tight end, and they throw him a little screen. We hadn't seen that play, prior to last week's game, and, it didn't kill us in the game, but it certainly is something that we need to defend better in the future. But it is a difficult play. You've got to be very disciplined in coverage, and when a team does it, the guy will stay there and stay on the guy.
Coach, got a couple more. We'll start here with Mark.
Josh Jacobs seems to be sort of a Swiss Army knife for the team. Just what do you see from him as he sort of developed as a player?
Swiss Army knife. He's a very versatile player. He's done a really good job in the return game on kickoff, return. He's always been a diverse guy as a running back. He's a really good receiver, runs really good routes. He's difficult to cover. He's explosive as a runner, and he's got power, to go with it, and he can make him miss. He's also a very good blocker, and he's one of the best special teams players besides being a return guy. Maybe people don't notice that he is one of our best special teams players on our team and contributes and never, ever asked to come out. So, Josh Jacobs has really made a significant contribution in a lot of different ways to our team. Some you probably notice, but some you probably don't.
Finish up with Ryan.
You guys had 3 scoring drives under a minute. How hard is it to manage, the offense when it does score so quickly, especially from a defensive standpoint? And how do you try to manage that throughout the game?
Well, I don't think anybody wants to apologize for scoring, so we're not going to do that. But time of possession is probably important in a game, especially when you're playing against a team that, like Missouri's a fastball team. They're up in the 90s in a lot of their games in terms of the number of plays. So when you don't get some balance in sort of, controlling the ball for, some period of time, it can wear on the defense a little bit. I don't think that happened in the last game. I think, the defensive wounds were, self-inflicted, in a lot of ways in terms of the execution, what we need to do to fix it, communication, guys being on the same page in terms of the adjustments that we need to make. And I will say this in defense of the defensive players, we get a lot of multiples in games sometimes that we don't practice. All right, and when you have an experienced team, they can make those adjustments much more easily in a game. And when you have inexperienced players, it takes a little while. So, but I think time of possession is something that's really, really important, but we're not going to change our style of how we play offense to try to keep the ball and not make explosive plays. I think that's counterproductive, and we need to be aggressive on offense, do the things that we need that we do well, and feature the players that can make plays for us. And if we make big plays, I think that's great. Explosive plays and turnovers have a huge impact on outcomes of games. And if we can keep the ball away from the other team while we're doing that, that would be a bonus.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, thank you.